I'm here to talk about Limitless Season 1, Episode 4, page 44. Can you believe there have been only 4 episodes of this show thus far? I can't. Let's talk about this case of the week, which is basically 2 cases for Brian, but 1 for the FBI. One night, Brian, feeling a certain kind of way, had a one-night stand because he really can't have a life because the FBI has him on leash, Sands has him on leash. You really can't do anything. And so one night he was bored. He made friends with a couple people, and one person in particular was Arthur, who he helped make an immortal mouse. One day, Arthur Mouse goes missing, and he blames it on his arch enemy, Wickerman, who was his business partner, and he went on to make this multi-billion-dollar or wealthy company, and Arthur was stuck, being in his house, seemed like a crazy man, and he's told Brian that he made his research breakthrough. He posted it on a board or something, and just feel like Wickerman is trying to figure out what his research is. And that's why he stole his immortal mouse. Wickerman ends up dead, and Arthur gets arrested because his fingerprints are all over the scene. And then Brian notices that there's some other DNA under his nail, so whoever tried to kill him, he scratched him and everything. Arthur begs him or asks him to help him find his mouse and also find out who did it because he didn't do it. Brian goes on to research. He went to the company to find the mouse, but the mouse wasn't there. He ended up getting stuck, and it was funny because Harris is like, "You're on NZT, you can't get out of the place," and then she goes to help him. And I love how she helps him because she said, I don't care what you do, as long as you stay out of trouble, you don't hurt anybody, and you're here when I need you, then okay. And she didn't want to see the man, if he didn't really do it, to go to jail. So he was stuck. She came helping, and I like it because when she got there, she was like, "I'm in the building, dumbass." It was funny how they just go back and forth. So she helped him escape. And originally, when they were looking at Wickerman, he had kids, or they were trying to find who had motive. Wickerman decided not to give his kids his money or inheritance, that he was going to give it to different charities. But after he died, Harris saw that the charities didn't get the money because the will wasn't changed. So Brian was like, the only people that would kill Wickerman would have to know for sure that they would get the money. And the only person that would know that was his probate attorney. Harris and Brian goes through his trash to find DNA, and basically he probably was in cahoots with one of the kids, that if he sits on the changing of the will and they kill him, then they can split the money. So I guess he pretty much confessed, and then he got the mouse back and gave it to Arthur, and everything was clear on that. The case that they were going through for FBI was a high clearance case, and basically a guy named Zane was a defense contractor, and they have been watching him because it seemed like he'd been selling intel, because he has access to specs of drones, and when they confiscated a Chinese drone, it had the specs of what he has access to. So Brian had to go through his trash, which sucks, and he found out the guy was lactose intolerant, but he drank a lot of milk. So on the milk cartons, it had measurements and numbers and stuff, and he was basically giving it off to someone in the Chinese government to make the drones. And then they find out that it was a guy that's a high operative that used to live near Zane, wherever he used to grow up in. His name was Kevin Lane. And it had a whole bunch of them in the city, like 44,000, so they needed Brian to go through them. They doing surveillance on him, and they see that Zane had dropped off some information, and then Lane came and got it, so they arrested both of them. Okay. Doing this, also, Sands came to Brian's house, and his house had a bug in it. I don't know if the FBI bugged him or it was already there. But Sands was like, we need to get all the information what the FBI have on NZT now. Brian was a little torn between it because, you know, they just gave him a little clearance to help them, so they were trusting him more. And then Harris, she stuck out for him to, you know, be on the team, go out in the field, and then she been helping him with Arthur. So he's like torn between that. Anyway, he tries to give Sands some fake files, and then his dad is so happened to get in the hospital and get a virus, and his dad's like, oh, that's what happened with transplant patient. Not really, no. Sands go to the hospital and is like, oh, it was cute that you gave me these fake files, but we need real files. He goes, and it is crazy because the boss, I forgot her name, but she has a security code to get in her office, and then like the door is frosty tips. I mean, she has blinds. It's just weird because, and then they have a bullpen out there, so can't nobody see it. Anyway, Zane made a statement, and most of them went down there, and some people left. He gave somebody diarrhea, and he went in and he did the fingerprints and got the information. Okay. Harris' dad was a painter, and the person who sold his paintings, she found that he had 2 finished paintings, and she was like, you know, I could sell them for you, or you could have them. She was like, no, sell them. I don't want them anymore. Or I don't want to have anything to do with it. Brian kind of made it feel bad, like, if my dad had anything out there that was finished or painted, I would want to see it. So she goes to the gallery, and then he made this big painting of her, portrait of her. And when Brian had the files in the same time, he was looking through the file, and he saw that her dad was in there. Because before, she thought her dad was on it, but she wasn't for sure. So I don't know if Brian gonna tell her, because then it'd be like, well, how do you know? Because if she didn't know about it, how would he know? That's interesting. So that's what happened this week. Leave your comments. Subscribe to this page. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ReallyMadeline. And I will see you next week. Bye.